Welcome to Career Canvas Power, where transformation becomes your identity. Here, we turn knowledge into real power for your life. Law 14 reveals a dangerous truth about human nature. Most people expose themselves without realizing it. They think secrets are hidden only in important conversations, but in reality, people leak information through everyday behavior, careless emotions, casual words, and uncontrolled reactions. Students, the world is full of people who destroy their own position, because they underestimate the value of awareness. They believe power belongs only to the strongest, richest, or loudest person. But history repeatedly proves something else. The person who understands people deeply, often controls the situation before conflict even begins. This law is not about becoming evil, it is about becoming impossible to deceive. Because life is filled with hidden competition, silent jealousy, manipulation, fake loyalty, and disguised intentions. And the people who survive these games are rarely the most emotional. They are the most observant. Understand this carefully. Human beings become predictable when emotions control them. Fear changes their decisions. Ego changes their behavior. Desire changes their honesty. Anger destroys their caution. And intelligent people notice all of it quietly. That is why this law teaches you to appear approachable while remaining mentally alert. Students, never move through life blindly. Many people smile in front of you while calculating behind your back. Many people praise you publicly while competing with you privately. Reality is ruthless. The world does not reward ignorance forever. It rewards awareness, timing, and understanding of human behavior. The more clearly you can read people, the harder it becomes for others to manipulate, trap, or outplay you. And that is where true strategic power begins. The judgment of this law is brutally practical. If you do not understand the intentions of people around you, you are operating at a disadvantage. Every environment contains hidden motives. In schools, workplaces, politics, business, and even friendships, people often hide what they truly think until the right moment arrives. That is why powerful individuals never depend only on appearances. They gather information before making decisions. They observe before trusting. They study people before revealing themselves. This law teaches that spies are not only people working in secret agencies. In real life, anyone who carefully watches human behavior becomes a strategic observer. And the most effective observer is the one nobody notices. Aggressive questioning creates resistance, but natural conversation creates openness. People reveal more when they feel emotionally comfortable. A careless person will expose ambitions while trying to impress you. An insecure person will expose weakness while seeking validation. An arrogant person will expose ego while trying to dominate the conversation. Intelligent individuals do not interrupt these moments, they learn from them. This is why calm listening is far more powerful than constant speaking. Most people are too busy trying to appear smart, important, or successful. Meanwhile, the observant person keeps collecting understanding quietly. And that understanding becomes advantage. Because in every conflict, negotiation, competition, or relationship, the side with better information usually controls the outcome. Remember this deeply: those who reveal everything about themselves lose strategic protection, but those who observe carefully gain clarity that others never see. The deeper idea behind this law is that human beings are driven more by emotion than logic, and emotional people become readable. This is why awareness creates power. When you understand what motivates someone, you can predict how they will behave under pressure. Some people are controlled by greed. Some are controlled by fear of rejection. Some are controlled by ego and the need to feel superior. Others are controlled by insecurity and constant desire for approval. Once you recognize these emotional engines, human behavior stops looking random. You begin seeing patterns behind actions. This is exactly why experienced leaders, negotiators, and strategists pay close attention to psychology. They know people rarely reveal their true intentions directly. Instead, intentions leak out through frustration, impatience, overconfidence, envy, defensiveness, and emotional reactions. Weak observers only hear words. Strong observers study contradictions. They notice when actions and speech do not match. They notice forced confidence hiding fear. They notice fake humility hiding ambition. They notice sudden emotional reactions, revealing hidden pressure points. And this ability changes everything. Because once you understand what influences people emotionally, you stop becoming easily surprised by betrayal, manipulation, or deception. Most people suffer not because they lack intelligence, but because they misread character. They trust charm without examining consistency. They believe promises without studying behavior. They ignore warning signs because emotions blind judgment. But emotionally disciplined people move differently. They remain patient long enough to see people clearly. Students, life rewards those who can separate appearance from reality. Anyone can wear a mask for a short time. But under pressure, true nature eventually appears. That is why strategic awareness is not paranoia, it is protection. It allows you to recognize danger earlier, choose allies more wisely, and avoid emotional traps that destroy careless people. In a world where many compete silently, the ability to understand human nature becomes one of the greatest advantages a person can possess. The core principle of this law is simple, but extremely dangerous when mastered: appear harmless while gathering understanding. Human beings become careless around people they do not fear. The moment someone sees you as friendly, respectful, calm, and interested in them, their defenses begin to weaken naturally. They stop filtering their words carefully. They stop hiding their emotions completely. They begin speaking freely because they feel psychologically safe. And this is where awareness becomes power. Intelligent people do not always gain knowledge by forcing truth out of others. Many times, they gain it by creating comfort. Understand this deeply: people desperately want attention. They want someone to listen to them, agree with them, admire them, or emotionally understand them. And while chasing that emotional satisfaction, they often expose important details about themselves, without noticing it. That is why the most effective observers rarely look threatening. They blend naturally into conversations. They allow others to feel important. Meanwhile, their mind remains alert, analytical, and emotionally controlled. This law is not teaching fake friendship, it is teaching strategic awareness. Because the world often rewards people who can understand others without exposing themselves too quickly. The less predictable you become, the harder it becomes for others to manipulate your decisions, emotions, or future actions. The psychological foundation of this law is rooted in one powerful human weakness: most people love talking about themselves more than they love listening to others. This happens because human beings crave recognition. Deep inside, people want their experiences, opinions, struggles, and dreams to feel important. And when someone listens with genuine attention, the mind automatically starts trusting them emotionally. This is why thoughtful questions are so powerful. A carefully asked question can reveal more than hours of direct interrogation. When people feel understood, they begin lowering emotional barriers. Slowly, they reveal insecurities they normally hide, ambitions they secretly chase, frustrations they suppress, and fears they never intended to share. Emotional comfort changes human behavior dramatically. A person who feels safe becomes more expressive, more open, and less guarded. That is why emotionally intelligent individuals never rush conversations. They allow silence to work. They let emotions unfold naturally. Because once emotions take over, people begin revealing what logic was trying to hide. An insecure person may suddenly become defensive during a simple discussion. An ambitious person may expose jealousy while discussing another person's success. A dishonest person may over-explain small details to appear convincing. These reactions are psychological windows into the mind. Human beings constantly reveal their inner world through emotional behavior. The problem is that most people never notice it, because they are too distracted trying to impress others themselves. But powerful observers stay mentally calm enough to read what others miss completely. True observation goes far beyond hearing words. Words can be controlled, prepared, and manipulated, but behavior is much harder to fake consistently. That is why the smartest people study patterns, instead of isolated moments. They observe how somebody reacts under pressure, how they behave around powerful people, how they respond to criticism, and how they treat people who cannot benefit them. Because character reveals itself through repeated behavior, not polished speeches. Small details often expose enormous truths. A sudden pause before answering may reveal hesitation. Forced laughter may reveal discomfort. Excessive confidence may hide insecurity. Avoiding eye contact during specific topics may reveal emotional pressure. Human beings communicate constantly through body language, tone, timing, facial expressions, and habits, even when they are silent. And those who learn to read these signals gain enormous advantage in life. This is why awareness must become a discipline. Most people notice only obvious actions, but strategic observers notice shifts in energy, changes in attitude, and contradictions in behavior. They understand that truth often appears indirectly. A jealous person may pretend to support you publicly, while subtly discouraging you privately. A manipulative person may use kindness only when they need something. A weak leader may speak aggressively to hide fear of losing control. These realities become visible only to those who observe patiently. Many people enter emotional traps because they focus only on what they want to believe. They ignore warning signs because emotions cloud judgment. But disciplined observers remain objective. They do not let excitement, attraction, anger, or ego blind them completely. And this ability protects them from deception, betrayal, and unnecessary suffering. In a world where appearances are constantly manufactured, the power to observe reality clearly becomes one of the rarest and most valuable skills a human being can develop. The hidden strategy behind this law is not aggression, it is invisibility. The most effective observer is the person nobody considers a threat. The moment people think you are trying too hard to extract information, they become defensive and emotionally closed. But when you appear relaxed, respectful, and naturally curious, people begin speaking without caution. This is why skilled strategists never force conversations. They guide them gently. They allow others to feel in control while quietly studying every reaction, hesitation, and emotional shift. Powerful people understand something dangerous about human nature. Individuals reveal themselves fastest when they are trying to feel important. Give someone attention, and many will start displaying their ego, frustrations, ambitions, or hidden resentment openly. That is why the best spy does not dominate the room. He disappears into it. He does not seek attention, he studies it. He does not rush to expose others, he waits for people to expose themselves naturally. And while emotional people react impulsively, the calm observer keeps gaining advantage silently. In real life, subtle intelligence defeats loud force far more often than people realize. Many failures in life happen because people move emotionally before understanding the reality around them. History is filled with leaders, businessmen, athletes, and intelligent individuals who collapsed not because they lacked talent, but because they trusted appearances too quickly. They assumed loyalty without testing it. They ignored hidden competition because praise made them comfortable. They believed words while ignoring behavior. And by the time they recognized the truth, the damage had already begun. This is the danger of acting blindly. When people refuse to gather information before making decisions, they walk directly into manipulation, betrayal, and psychological traps. Emotional excitement often destroys awareness. A person becomes so focused on opportunity, friendship, power, or success that they stop questioning intentions around them. Overconfidence becomes blindness, and blind people are easy to deceive. Some individuals reveal their plans too early and give rivals time to prepare against them. Others trust emotional promises from people whose actions never supported those promises. This is why strategic people remain patient before committing emotionally or professionally. They understand that hidden motives exist everywhere. The world is not always honest, fair, or transparent. And people who fail to recognize this reality often become victims of their own carelessness. Awareness protects judgment, but ignorance creates vulnerability. One of the greatest masters of this law was Cardinal Richelieu, the powerful political figure who helped strengthen France during the 17th century. Richelieu understood something that many rulers failed to understand: controlling information was often more important than displaying authority publicly. Instead of depending only on military strength or political speeches, he quietly built networks that allowed him to stay informed about nobles, rivals, secret alliances, and possible conspiracies forming around him. But what made him truly effective was not only the information itself, it was the way he gathered it. He rarely appeared reckless, emotional, or openly hostile. He presented himself as calm, diplomatic, patient, and composed. While others argued, boasted, or exposed their emotions, Richelieu listened carefully and studied people deeply. This gave him enormous strategic advantage because he often understood political movements before others even recognized the danger. He knew who could be trusted, who was ambitious, and who secretly threatened his position. And because of this awareness, he managed to survive in an environment filled with deception, shifting loyalties, and power struggles. His success teaches an important lesson: powerful people do not rely only on strength, they rely on understanding. They gather knowledge before making moves. They remain emotionally controlled while others become predictable. The world often celebrates loud confidence, but history repeatedly shows that calm intelligence quietly shapes outcomes behind the scenes. The person who understands people deeply can often influence events without needing to fight openly at all. The deepest insight of this law is that strategic advantage rarely comes from luck. It comes from understanding people better than they understand themselves. Every human being carries patterns, emotional triggers, insecurities, ambitions, and blind spots. The person who learns to recognize these patterns gains clarity that others completely miss. That is why information becomes power. Not because knowledge looks impressive, but because knowledge allows accurate decisions. A calm observer can predict conflict before it explodes, detect dishonesty before betrayal happens, and recognize weakness before it becomes visible to everyone else. Students, another hidden key is controlled communication. Powerful people do not reveal every thought, every emotion, or every future plan immediately. They understand that once information leaves your mouth, you lose control over it. That is why they ask indirect questions, listen carefully, and allow others to speak more freely. They study consistency between words and actions. They understand timing. They understand emotional pressure. And because of this awareness, they avoid many traps that emotionally impulsive people walk into blindly. In life, knowledge is not valuable only for attack, it is valuable for protection, preparation, and intelligent judgment. But every powerful skill becomes dangerous when used recklessly. If someone constantly probes into people's lives, asks unnatural questions, or behaves suspiciously curious, trust begins collapsing immediately. Human beings may reveal information freely when comfortable, but they also sense manipulation when behavior becomes excessive. And once people feel used, relationships become poisoned. Another danger is arrogance. Some individuals collect information and begin believing they completely understand everyone around them. This overconfidence creates serious mistakes, because human behavior is complex and constantly changing. Observation requires patience and accuracy, not ego. Misreading signals can destroy trust, friendships, partnerships, and opportunities. A nervous reaction does not always mean guilt. Silence does not always mean deception. Sometimes people struggle privately with problems you cannot see. That is why wise observers never jump to conclusions too quickly. They collect patterns over time, instead of reacting emotionally to isolated moments. Students, this law must be used with discipline. The goal is awareness, not manipulation for selfish pleasure. Because intelligence without ethics eventually destroys trust, and once trust disappears completely, even the smartest person becomes isolated. Now understand the reversal of this law, because balance separates wisdom from obsession. Students, there is a point where constant observation becomes unhealthy suspicion. A person who distrusts everyone eventually loses the ability to build genuine relationships. Excessive secrecy creates emotional distance. Excessive analysis creates mental exhaustion. And constant suspicion slowly transforms awareness into paranoia. This is dangerous, because fear-driven thinking distorts reality. Some people become so obsessed with hidden motives that they start seeing betrayal everywhere, even where none exists. They overanalyze simple conversations, normal behavior, and harmless actions until their judgment becomes emotionally unstable. This law does not teach you to become emotionally cold or incapable of trust. It teaches you to remain aware without becoming consumed by fear, because strong alliances are often built through honesty, reliability, and openness. Not every situation requires manipulation or hidden calculation. Sometimes direct communication creates more strength than strategic silence. And remember, something extremely important: while you are studying others, others may also be studying you. People notice your habits, emotional reactions, weaknesses, and ambitions too. That is why self-awareness matters just as much as observing others. True mastery is not becoming suspicious of everyone. True mastery is learning how to gather understanding, while staying emotionally balanced, mentally calm, and difficult to read yourself. The strongest minds remain aware without losing their humanity in the process. Applying this law in real life begins with developing emotional discipline. Students, stop feeling the need to speak constantly, just to fill silence. Silence often reveals more than endless talking. When people feel no pressure, they naturally begin sharing opinions, frustrations, and personal thoughts more openly. Learn to ask open-ended questions that encourage conversation instead of questions that sound like interrogation. Observe how people react during stress, disagreement, success, failure, and competition. These moments expose character far more clearly than carefully prepared words. Another practical habit is learning to notice patterns instead of isolated incidents. Anyone can fake behavior temporarily, but consistency eventually reveals truth. Pay attention to reliability, emotional stability, honesty, and treatment of others over time. Also learn the discipline of protecting your own information. Not every person deserves access to your goals, fears, or plans. Some people support you genuinely, while others quietly collect information only to use it later, when circumstances change. This is why emotionally intelligent individuals reveal themselves carefully. Practical awareness also means controlling your reactions. Emotional impulsiveness makes people readable and predictable, but calmness creates uncertainty. The less emotionally reactive you become, the harder it becomes for others to manipulate your decisions. Another important application is choosing environments wisely. Observe the energy of people around you. Some environments reward honesty and growth, while others operate through jealousy, gossip, and hidden competition. Awareness helps you recognize the difference early. This law is ultimately about becoming mentally sharper in human interactions. Not fearful, not manipulative, sharper. Because in a world full of appearances, the ability to recognize reality clearly becomes a powerful advantage. Law 14 ultimately teaches that awareness is one of the greatest forms of protection and power in human life. Students, many people suffer unnecessary betrayal, manipulation, disappointment, and emotional damage because they move through life without truly understanding the people around them. They trust too quickly, react too emotionally, and ignore warning signs until consequences become unavoidable. But strategic individuals move differently. They listen carefully, observe patiently, and study behavior before making important judgments. By appearing approachable and emotionally balanced, they allow others to reveal intentions naturally, without unnecessary conflict. Yet the deeper lesson of this law is not manipulation, it is clarity. The goal is to understand reality before reality hurts you. Because the world is filled with hidden motives, silent competition, emotional masks, and changing loyalties. The more accurately you can read people, the more intelligently you can protect your future, choose your relationships, and navigate difficult situations. But true mastery also requires balance. Awareness must never become paranoia. Intelligence must never destroy humanity. In the end, the strongest people are not those who dominate every room loudly. The strongest people are those who understand human nature deeply, while remaining calm, disciplined, and impossible to deceive easily. Thank you. Remember, real power comes from understanding and applying. Stay connected with Career Canvas Power, your transformation continues.